1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
This society will always be as a drunken of the wine, controlling all the senses for understanding great divine. I will send fire to this land.
Peace and blessings. This is your brother Gabar, and this is I Am Fit Podcast. Are you fit to go God's way? Let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Thank you for allowing me into your living room. And I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. to help the algorithms. It's for free, doesn't cost you anything, and I will appreciate it. I just want to thank everybody. Let's see who's on. I see here SWR, Shalom Gabar, and all in attendance. Oh, praise you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm coming in loud and clear. So if I'm not, just give me a thumbs down or let me know. If I am, give me a thumbs up. So today's conversation is going to be, I hope, a quick one. I just want to reiterate certain things. There is obviously an update in the Daniel Muir, pastor of Straightway, one of the pastors of Straightway, ex-football player. And I think this show is going to be more, not necessarily judging the matter one way or the other. Because I believe, okay, it says mic is very low. All right, let me just do something here. Okay, mic check. I don't know if the mic is low. It is, just bring up your volume, man, because I'm trying everything I can to make sure that everybody is hearing me. So I'm coming in clear on my end. Just fix your volume, I guess, in your end and so forth, so on. Because I'm trying to see how, 2 seconds, let me see one. Because I'm trying to see how, 2 seconds. That is kind of low. That is kind of low. I hope I fixed it. I hope I fixed it. Let me see if I hope I fixed it. Let me see if I hope I fixed it. Let me see if okay. So, yeah, I hear it coming low in my end. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. All right. Let me see one more time. Check. All right. Let me see one more time. Check. Yeah, I got to figure this thing out, why it's so low. I bought a good, the mic, okay, I'm hearing now the mic is good. Okay, I'll make sure I speak up. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I don't know, it's been happening for a few, and I have to start to figure out. Maybe I got to get new wires. Maybe these are the ones that are not. I'll do that. I'll get something tomorrow, see if that will work. But I want to have a conversation because, you know, we all have seen all the news in regards of Mr. Daniel Muir. And today, I want to have a conversation, in particular, going into an update of what's going on. But more importantly, I want this to be what they call a learning's tale. We could take caution. We could learn from this, right? Because I want to kind of break down the way I see it, what happened, and how it's very easily for any one of us to get caught up in this type of mess. I think Brother Daniel, he should have been wiser dealing with the in-laws. I don't agree with this brutality of hitting your kids the way he did. But I want to focus on how can we avoid things like this? Because any one of us could have get caught up with this nonsense. Yes, there is some to blame on Daniel. Yes, there is some to blame on a lot of people, but I don't want to get into that right now. What I want to do, I want to focus first and foremost on what happened, right? On this particular, how we could have avoided this, how this could have, turn out in a better way, right? So what I first want to do, right, I want to, I guess, bring the update in regards to what's going on. Let me see if I could share the screen. 2 seconds, folks. Let me see if I could do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. And there you go. Okay. So let me share the screen with you guys. 2 seconds. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go. Fair use, fair use, fair use. I want to just basically give you guys an update, and I want you guys to pay attention because I think I'm putting all the pieces together and where the ball was dropped in particular, right? Okay, so let's play this video. Fair use. The latest update on the Branson Muir, the father. Well, he's the son, but Daniel Muir is the father, right? And the mothers, they're both arrested. So let's hear this quick 1 minute and 43 seconds news bit.
In sport, Daniel and Kristen Muir face felony charges of obstruction to justice. Daniel is also charged with a misdemeanor count of domestic battery. After their inspection, the Department of Child Services says they found more disturbing details about the Muir home. Cody Fisher shares their findings.
Daniel and Kristen Muir walked into a Cass County courtroom in orange jumpsuits just hours after their home was raided by an Indiana State Police SWAT team. During that raid, ISP found their son, who had been missing for 18 days and the subject of a silver alert. Kristen Muir was tearful in the courtroom as the judge sternly denied the couple bond. According to court documents, Daniel Muir had a conversation with his brother-in-law about his son. During the recorded conversation, Muir said he whooped his son.
Now I want you to pay attention because look what his brother-in-law did. He recorded and he caught this man saying this.
Like a grown man because of allegations that the team.
Let me rewind a little bit.
According to court documents, Daniel Muir had a conversation with his brother-in-law about his son. During the recorded conversation, Muir said he whooped his son like a grown man because of allegations that the teen had inappropriate contact with other children. Muir told his brother-in-law that if they lived in their religious homeland, that his son would be put to death for his acts. But since they live in the United States, they could not put him to death. On June 27th, Indiana State Police and the Department of Child Services met with the Muirs. During that meeting, Daniel and Kristen had different stories about how their missing son had a bruised eye. On the same day, DCS did a home inspection and interviewed several of the Muirs' children, who told them that their parents disciplined them by spanking them with belts and a garden hose. They also said their parents occasionally hit them in the mouth. According to Indiana State Police, the Muir family agreed to come in for an interview on June 28th with their son, but an hour before the meeting, the family backed out. That's when law enforcement started the process of getting a search warrant that led to the ISP raid.
So let me stop sharing real quick because I want to also play another video. So let's I want to hold on 2 seconds, folks. You know what? I could do this here. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I want to and let me adjust this 2 seconds. Let me adjust this. And let me do this. 2 seconds, folks. Let me just, I'm just adjusting this real quick. Okay, perfect. So I want to unpack this for a minute. His mother-in-law, his wife's mother, was the one who called the police. His brother-in-law now, the latest scenario is that the brother-in-law recording him saying, after the brother-in-law asked him the question where he get this black eye, the father said, yeah, I gave it to him because I beat him up like a man, because I apparently he was having some, he was 14. There's probably a girl in the compound that he likes. They probably got caught up doing something they're supposed to be doing, and I get the concerns within the father, but it wasn't wise for him to tell an outsider, outside of the straightway community that he's beating up. And he said, I beat him like a man, right? Was that wise? So I want this to be a learning moment, a teaching moment, an opportunity for us to say, okay, can we learn from this? What can we learn from this, right? What can we take from this, right? So I want to play another video because I want us to learn from this, not to criticize them necessarily and spend 2 hours talking how bad straightway is. And I'm hoping that they see this video and they could learn from this. They could grow from this. They could make sure that this doesn't happen again by finding more or more an intelligent way, a more effective way, a safe way to raise your children and to discipline them, right? Maybe punishment, maybe, the kids should have been doing some exercise, running around the track or something to some degree. But beating up a 14-year-old kid, I understand the kid is a big kid. He's like 6'1", himself 6'2". He's almost 200 pounds, but the father's is like 300 pounds. He's a linebacker. He himself for someone. So these conversations that these men are having with each other and with the world and also on these YouTube channels, it's dangerous sometimes because people are watching. And sometimes people just watching just to see where you're going to mess up, right? There's probably a dossier on all of us, right? Okay, I'm hearing that we're low. Let me see if I could do something else here. Okay, I have it all the way up. I can't have it any more high than I can right now. So you got to bear with me. Okay. Let me see something. Okay. Your volume is damn low. The video is low. Okay. I'm trying to see what's going on with the volume. Let me see. Let me check my phone real quick. And okay, looks like I'm fine on my end, but just try to raise it up as much as possible in your end. I'll appreciate it. I appreciate you, man. You're giving a heads up. Now, this is a learning moment. We have to be wiser when we're speaking to our in-laws. We have to be wiser when we're speaking to people outside of our community. Yes, within the Hebrew culture, right, there's a lot of things that we could talk about among ourselves in regards of the law. But yes, in the law, in the Old Testament, once Israel was a sovereign nation, they could implement their own laws. They could implement death penalties. They could implement exile. They could implement lashes. I think we were allowed to strike, I think 40 lashes, or no more than 40, if there's a controversy between two men. We all read this in the Bible. But we are not in our country. And not only we're not in our country, we are behind enemy lines. So I want to play this other video. I hope people understand what I'm saying, because this is important and we need to do better. If we know better, we do better. Fair use.
Developing tonight, we're now learning what led police to raid the Logansport property of a former Colts player turned pastor. Right now, Daniel Muir and his wife Kristen are in jail after police found their 14-year-old son safe on their property nearly a week ago.
Rich Nye is here live in studio tonight with what we learned from the court documents about the alleged abuse of the boy and perhaps other children in that family. Rich?
Right. In court records, Daniel Muir allegedly admits that he, quote, whooped his 14-year-old son for inappropriate behavior. Meantime, his attorney is arguing that the Muirs...
Now, I wonder what is this inappropriate behavior. I wonder what that is. I wonder what that means. I wonder what that represents. I wonder. Now, there's been rumors out there that I've been hearing that the kid was gay. I don't think that's true. I wonder why. This is the reason why I think that wasn't the case. Because if that was the case, and the media knew about it, they would have promoted this. You know, a father beating up a kid because he's gay, they would have jumped on this like white on rice. So I don't think that's the truth. I think he probably had a girlfriend. He probably had a girl, you know, that he's not supposed to. He's probably, you know, young men, you know, 14 years old, your hormones are raising. It's going to happen. Yes, we try to avoid as much as possible, but we need to understand that we cannot apply the same system that we apply when we were in ancient Israel, right? Fair use.
Should not have been denied bail. Police executed a search warrant on this property in Logansport on July 3rd to locate the 14-year-old son of Daniel and Kristen Muir. This is where Daniel is the pastor leader of a religious community. The boy's grandmother had reported alleged abuse at the hands of his father and provided police with a photo of the boy with a black eye and swollen face. Court records say investigators also have a recorded phone conversation between Daniel and a family member where Daniel admits, "I whooped his blank like a grown blank man." Daniel says he punished his son for inappropriate behavior.
And they're going to ride with this. They're going to ride with that. They're going to, trust me, that recording is going to come out in a few weeks, maybe in a few days. It wasn't smart for you to have done that, brother. Your ego got in the way, and you already in a situation, and I think I cracked the case in regards why this happened. But I want the video to play out because it's important, because I want everybody to connect the dots as well. Fair use.
And that if they lived in their religious homeland, the boy would be put to death for his acts. But they can't do that in the United States. For more than 2 weeks, the Muirs would not cooperate with the Department of Child Services investigation, leading to a silver alert and the eventual raid. Police say the boy was found safe and well, along with other Muir children. But 2 boys told investigators they had been whooped by their parents, one even getting a bloody nose from their punishment. Daniel is charged with domestic battery, a misdemeanor. Both parents are charged with obstruction of justice, a low-level felony. The Cass County Circuit Court judge denied bail at the Muirs' initial hearing July 3rd, calling them a flight risk and noting their complete lack of cooperation with investigators. Legal experts say a relatively low bond is standard for these charges.
The judge, I think, at the hearing will say, well, I was well within my ability to refuse bail or refuse bond because I determined there was a substantial risk of flight.
Even if you are a flight risk, you still get a bond. It may be higher than somebody else who's not a flight risk, but this case on its face does not really seem like it should not have a bail or bond in place.
Now, the judge did set a bond hearing for July 16th, but that will leave the Muirs in jail for almost 2 weeks. Daniel's attorney has filed a motion saying the Muirs being denied bail is unconstitutional. He's asking for a hearing for their release as soon as possible this week.
Okay, so why I want to play these videos? Because now we're dealing with the court system. I tell people all the time, you don't want the court in your home. You don't want the system to be investigating you. If you and your wife are arguing a lot, the neighbors are hearing that. If there's constant bickering and fighting in the family, and then the system gets involved, and you're in the system. Agree with your adversary quickly. Get out of the system as soon as possible. Women, I know sometimes when you're in a situation that you may be arguing with your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, and things are getting a little heated, and you just want him to leave, and yada, 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 and you'll call the police because you just want him to leave. You don't want to arrest him, you just want him to leave or something like that. And then, trust me, these things, police are not your personal bodyguards. They're there to either find out what happened, and if there's a law that was broken, they're there to arrest somebody. So we need to find better way to resolve issues with conflict solution skills dealing with our children, our spouse, right? Listen, I got the biggest temper in the world, but I know it, so I protect myself from that. I don't get involved in certain environment that could put me in a position of being compromised. That's why I don't get caught up dealing with a woman that I'm arguing a lot. That's a compromising scenario, right? If I had a rebellious child and so for someone, I'm like, okay, I'm already plotting to take it, after 18, you out of here, kid, right? A legal adult, right? So we have to get smarter in our dealings with these particular issues, right? So I want to do a quick just some imaging that I put together, some what I believe was the cause of all this, right? So let me share this with you guys real quick, okay? A quick update, right, from my perspective. So who is Daniel Muir, right? We all know he's a football player. He I think he played for the NFL, I believe, for 10 years. And I looked him up on Wikipedia, and they already have this situation. They already updated the situation. The bottom in July 2024, Muir and his wife were arrested on criminal charges related to abuse of their son, right? So Daniel Trevor Muir, born in September 12, 1983. So that makes him about 40 years old. He's a former American football defender, tackle in the National Football League, right? He was signed to the Green Packers. Ken Stage, the Indianapolis Colts, the St. John Rams, New York Jets, Kansas City's Chief, Houston Texan, and so forth and so on, right? He's a big guy, right? 298 pounds, 6'2", right? And we already know in our community, men of color, there's already a negative stereotype, right? That we prone to violence, that we are, in a scenario that's a situation that a big guy like this, usually people will be afraid. This guy probably, everywhere he goes, he's the biggest guy in the room, right? Most of the time, right? And brothers have to understand that we are behind enemy lines. We have to understand that this brother could avoid this if he had somebody to guide him. And unfortunately, I don't think Pastor Dow was that guy. I think Pastor Dow will probably get caught up with the same issue in a few months or years or weeks, right? So let's look him up. In regards of his net worth, it says Muir, who was reported net worth for $2 million, bought 59 acres of land in his house and a property. He bought it for $450,000 in March 2020. Right, he named it Straightway Goshen, right? So he came with some money, successful black man in America. There's not a lot of that, and this brother's ruining not only his career, his position in the community, because he did not know how to deal with this in a more intelligent way, right? So, and this is what's happening here. I'm not condoning this in any way. I'm not condoning violence. I think this was stupid. This was something that should never have been done. We could find better ways to discipline our kids. He could have done push-ups. He could have been grounded. You could take away this video game. You could take away, many things that it will be probably more effective at just punching him in the face and beating up like a man, right? So let's look at this from an investigator's perspective, right? So you have the father, the mother. The father, ex-football player, right? he then later became involved with a out of the box, not normal, not everyday, outliner type of church. Could we agree to that? Right? This is not a normal church. I'm not saying it's a bad church. I don't say it's an evil church. What I'm saying is, even if they were doing everything right, the concept of a compound, of a gated community outside, come live with us, and so forth, so on, that itself automatically would brown an eye, would raise some concern. So we have to be wise here, folks. So this is what I believe. I believe that they probably didn't want, here you have the father, the mother had a son, the grandmother who called the police, and these not the people. This is AI. I just looked it up, and they just came up with this, and so I don't know. This is not how the people look like the father. I mean the brother and the mother, but I'm just putting this for educational purposes, right? So you have the mother, the grandmother, and grandmothers, right? They're very protective of their grandkids. Grandparents is like they usually love their grandkids even a little more than their own kids sometimes, because in their mind, I could do it right this time. It's like a second chance to be a parent. So that sometimes grandparents are very involved in their grandkids' life, understandably. And the fact that a grandmother would walk into her room and see her grandchild with a big black eye, I don't know what this brother was thinking. Because let's think about it. They probably think, oh my God, my daughter is with this weird guy with this weird church in this weird location. Straightway, they got guns and pass it down with all the guns and all the ammunition. No wonder they're raiding you guys. They don't know what they were about to encounter. If I was a police officer in that region, like, I think we should come with some heavy firepower, because we saw some videos. They got guns. They talk about, we just went and had infantry, training, gun training, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes we talk too much as about people. We don't have to promote every single thing that we do, because they're watching us, right? So now the brother who is, his brother-in-law, but now, is his nephew, his sister's son, is coming home with a black eye. So he's calling his brother-in-law and saying, hey, what the heck happened, right? But his brother-in-law, this first mistake, he should never have hit his kid that way. He should have found a better way to discipline his kid without leaving bruises and marks and things of that nature. That was mistake number one. Mistake number two, he should never have sent his bruised child to his in-law grandmother, because I'm pretty sure they already had some tension, right? That their daughter, her daughter, his sister, is in with this compound with this guy that he's running around with guns and Israelites, and they keep Sabbath. It's just weird. They're not normal. Automatically, that's going to be a concern. And the fact that the brother secretly recording this Daniel Muir already tells you there's already tension there. It tells you there's issues there. And this, I'm sorry to call you a knucklehead, but you are a knucklehead if you think you could beat up your kid and then send them to people that you already have some form of tension with outside of your community, right? Because apparently that kid, Branson, right, the son, he was in that community, I guess that's normal in that community. I don't know how many people live in that community. I don't know how many women, men, children. I don't know what's the deal. But why you didn't keep that child in the community until at least, the eye gets a little better? Mistake number one, you should never hit your kid in the face. You should never beat up your kid like a man, because your son is not a man. You discipline him. I remember my father, and I never forget this when he said this. He said, I got to punish you guys, and he told me this in Spanish. I have to punish you guys because if I keep whipping you, I'm going to hurt you. So even my father understood that, and he never hit us in the face. It was usually whipping with the belt, right? And so forth. So, but once he used to get so angry that he could see, I could see one day losing temper and punching you guys and hurting you. And I remember me getting used to the whipping. I remember it's like, okay, I got to get this, just bite my lip and take it and cry like I'm dying. Nah, please, Daddy, don't hit me. And then after that, 30 seconds later, it's over. I got used to them. But when my father realized, you know what, I got to stop punishing you because that's going to be worse, he was right. He took away my freedom. I was in the room, for the rest of the day. I couldn't go play out with the kids. He would give us chores to do around the house. I used to hate punishment more than whipping because you get used to it. That's just the bottom, that's just human nature. You get used to things like this. So look at all this scenario. Can we learn from this as people of color? Can we learn from this as people within the Israelite community, right? We should be very careful. Talking about, if he was in the land of Israel, we would kill this man. That sounds crazy to other people. We may understand what you're saying, and we understand you in the moment, you heated and things of that nature. But when you're talking to people outside of the community in that type of way, it becomes dangerous. I'm going to show you guys another video, right? I want to play another video real quick because this is, like I said, this is a teaching moment. I don't want this to be a thing that we are using this opportunity to just bash, the Pastor Dow organization. I'm looking to learn from this. Can we learn from this? How can we learn from this, right? So let me share real quick. Bada bing, bada boom. Yep. Okay. So let's play this video real quick. This is Pastor Dow talking to one of his bishop or elders, right? And they're talking about, contracts, American Constitution, your rights, and so forth, so on. And I want you to pay attention. Fair use.
Example here. Like, I didn't even know this, but most people young people coming out of high school are getting their driver's license, right? Do you know in the contract that they're signing to just be able to have the ability to drive, they're actually agreeing that if there was a draft, that they could be drafted. But it's right there in the contract. And so people don't even know they're agreeing to that because in their mind, they're just doing it just to get their, who's reading the contract to get their driver's license? No one's thinking about that.
All right. And let me hit this part right here. I don't want to skip this part. So we live in a country where the country tries to make the governed believe that it's all for them. That we're living in this country called America. We're all American citizens, right? But what's really truly taking place is that we have a government that's been trumped. Our government that has moved us.
Listen to what he's saying. A government has been trumped. And I think they're gonna go into like, you don't really need a license to drive because of freedom of movement was given in the Constitution. This sounds a lot like sovereignty And, the Moors were talking about this in the 90s, and, I'm a sovereign Moor. I'm telling you, it's very dangerous for these type of language, these type of conversation to be had in a public forum. Guns in the background. Yeah, I'm all about protecting yourself. If you have a gun legally to protect your family, I'm all for that. But you telling the enemy what you have already. You're telling him if somebody wants to attack you, they could say, okay, there's like a 9mm, that's like a assault rifle. He has this, he has that, right? Sometimes you cannot tell the right hand what the left hand is doing, or the left hand what the right hand is doing. So pay attention, because all these language, all these conversation, they're building a dossier on these guys.
From civil has moved us from us being the power and authority, and through statutory law. They flipped the script and they got you thinking, well, if you can't drive unless you get this license, why? Because everybody else does it. Or you can't function unless you do this, because that's the only option they present to you. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, it didn't used to be like that. We done had generations past that knew, and now we're born in this generation. All we do is consent, 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 consent. In other words, the governed gives consent to the government for them to have sole authority and power over us. Elder, come here.
And none of these guys are lawyers, first of all. Be very careful when you're part of an organization that someone is running around saying, yeah, listen, I've been doing some research, and I don't think we have to pay taxes. I don't think we have to pay this. I figured it out. I cracked the case. Oh, praise to the Most High. I'm telling you, run from these people. They're going to hurt you. They're going to jam you up. And listen, yes, is there an argument that someone could raise that may show or may there may be a loophole in the law? Yes, but you have to eventually convince a judge there is a loophole in the law, and he will grant you, right, judgment on this matter. You cannot just take it upon yourself and say, I think this is not constitutional, and I don't think we need a driver's license. You should go to court for that. And once a court is set, and then a verdict is met, that is in the books. But these guys are just running around talking, and the enemy is listening. Fair use.
So I remember, I think it was that.
Am I telling the truth?
Yeah, you're telling the truth. After the elect, I think Pastor Corey got cut off. I think, didn't he get cut off during he got cut?
And one he got cut off.
Yeah, strangely. And I hope I don't get cut off, but I'm gonna pick up what he picked up. But he says that if you get a dollar bill, if I can use this analogy and be pure, if you take any money, but I'm using a dollar bill here. If you ever been pulled over or somebody said, well, you need a driver's license. Well, you're driving on public road. Yes, I am driving. That is a public road, but they make you think that you need to have a driver's license to be able to.
You hear what it says? They make you think that you need a driver's license. Guys, get your driver's license, man. Stop messing around. Don't get caught up with these guys. I have heard this 1,000 times, and there's never been a time that a guy's running around without his driver's license and he doesn't get arrested. And he'll be the court and trying to be a lawyer. I'm a sovereign human being. I don't need any license and penal code 1, 2, 3. Listen, there's never been a case successfully of somebody running around without a license and getting away with it because he, explained to the police officer, according to the penal code of the Constitution, it says it doesn't work. It's pseudo. And who I blame for this? I blame the United States educational system. We're living in a world that every generation we is getting dumber, and dumber. Idiocracy. See the movie. It's getting ridiculous. We have to stop with these damn morons running around trying to think that they're lawyers. I bet you this dude just went to law school like for 2 semesters, and I think he's an expert. Come on, dudes.
You do need a license to drive, but to travel on public road. But
Stop. We're going to stay right there.
Okay.
So a license, according to Black's Law Dictionary,
there we go. Now he's a lawyer.
Is something that you are required to get. At least that's what they say. Because without it, you'll be breaking the law.
You'll be illegal.
You'll be y'all hearing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear the double talk in this. So a license is something that is permission. Now, he's going to introduce some more other words right here to bring attention. Go ahead, Elder. I'm going to have to stop you every now and then.
Okay, I appreciate that, please, because I want people to get this, but I want to make it simple because I'm not trying to make it. This is not the place to do everything, but just want you to get your mind right because we've been trained a certain way, right? So if you take your money or your dollar bill, or whatever, on there you'll see where it says this note is legal tender. Legal. So when you hear legal just you can switch. You can take the word legal and put equal public. Okay? So anything that's legal is public, not private. So the opposite of public is.
So let's just say there's someone in their organization, right, that has issues with their driver's license. And they may be driving without a driver's license, right? And let's just say, 50% have a valid driver's license, the other 50 does not, right? I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Now, because these guys are out there talking about you don't need a driver's license to, travel, it's against the Constitution, it's penal code, and they're breaking out all these deep scenarios as if they're lawyers. What do you think they're going to start doing now? The police officers, they are watching this. They're going to stop them and say, let me get your driver's license. In the hopes that you may not have one because, according to this video, technically you don't really, it's unconstitutional for a cop to ask you for a driver's license. We got to stop with this constant pseudo type of let me change here. We have to stop this pseudo, legal wannabe lawyers people. This young man, he's probably in his early 30s, or, late 20s or what have you, and he's running around thinking that he's out the church lawyer. He's an elder. It's a learning moment, folks. A learning moment. Let's learn from this. We are behind enemy lines. And yes, I believe that we should understand the law. We should, have a decent understanding of your rights, but that should be taught to you by a professional. I believe that every church should have a legal lawyer, a legal counsel, not a brother who did 2 years in college and then dropped out and now he's a lawyer. There's a lot of that. Not these, what they call them, polymath, self-taught wannabes. They would get you in trouble. And sometimes there are certain laws in the books that you could utilize to defend yourself, but it should not be in the middle of the road. It should be in the judge. The judge will look at the law, right? They will decide the interpretation because your interpretation of that law may be different from the prosecutor's interpretation or the judge's interpretation. See, brother, over here says legal tender, rather. The tender represents this, that, and they just start going into this big, fancy tirade. And before you know it, someone's like, yeah, brother, I don't need a license. I don't need a license. I don't need insurance. I don't need nothing to drive a car. I'm a sovereign human being. And you get him pulled over. Then, asking for mama, to bail you out. This is the reason, these type of videos is the reasons why they probably didn't grant them any bail because they were not cooperative. They're probably showing some of the videos, the guns. They're probably gonna break out. They was not producing the child for 2 weeks. Once you're on their radar, you have to cooperate get a lawyer, and cut a deal. Black people be as guilty as heck and be like, I'm innocent. It's racism. There's a man after me. And you know you're dead wrong. We got to do better, folks. I put the link below if somebody wants to come in and comment. Anybody disagree? Anybody wants to add to what my conversation? You're more than welcome. You can come into Spotify. Not Spotify. SteamYard, and we could have a conversation. But we need to do better, man. They're watching us. They're watching us to fall. Then watching us when we can fall. That's why I'm taking my time and being very selective on the men that I, surround myself. The men that I'm bringing into men going God's way. Because when these type of communities are, a thing, it becomes a situation that sometimes you may have a father, he's gun-ho. You may have a mother, she's gun-ho, the wife. She's a ride or die righteous sister. She's down with her husband. And they may have 2 kids. The 13-year-old girl, and they may have a 16-year-old boy. The 13-year-old, she's a ride or die daughter. She's in the choir. She loves the church. She's down. But the 16-year-old son, he doesn't really believe in God. He's just there because, mom and dad is taking me to church. So sometimes we have to start having conversation even with our young children, right? And sometimes with fathers, with sons or daughters, you got to have that conversation. Listen, son, I know you don't really believe in all of this the way we believe it. But listen, out of respect, let's work together that, you could, get some skills that you could eventually be, independent. And then once you become a man, you pay your own rent, you're out of the community, you can do whatever you want. But in my home, this is what we follow. And then we start having those conversations, right? I think we could have a better scenario because, kids are going to grow up sometimes gay. Not every child who's gay was molested. Yeah, that's part of it sometimes. But sometimes just kids are just that's the way they are, right? And so forth, so on. And we have, in today's political climate, we have to be very, very careful. And how do we deal with the situation? Like I want to give you guys a prime example. Sometimes I've been in situations that I was counseling couples that one of the couples or both of the couples don't agree spiritually. The wife is going to one church and the husband is going to, another church, right? And one is a Sabbath keeper, one is a Sunday worship keeper, right? And they're different perspectives. This is what I usually tell the member that was part of our church who we kept Sabbath. I said, brother, listen. Or sister, because sometimes it's the husband probably is a Sunday worship and so forth, so on. Listen, with the children, this is the best way I think you could approach this. Both of you guys as a united front, sit down with your children and says, okay, listen, Dad, he keeps Sabbath. Mom, she's with this, Sunday worship church, so forth, so on. We want you to eventually decide for yourself how you want to worship God. So with Dad, you come to church on the Sabbath, and with Mom, you go to Sunday worship, right? And then the child will eventually decide which church they like. And if both parents agree, they say, okay, if Billy, Johnny, whatever the child's name is, likes this church versus the other church, they have to pick a church, right? Because when I was coming up, church was not optional, right? So we still have to teach discipline, but we as parents have to start looking at our kids and realize our kid is not going to be a believer like the way we are. We have to come to terms with that. Because every man must decide on their own. Not because daddy or mommy go to church. I'm going to be saved. That child, right, 16, 17, right, in the eyes of God, he's a young man. Young man, but a man nonetheless. Yes, the term teenager, and if you look at the history of the term teenager, that really began to be promoted within the 50s to kind of promote this teenager, like the Elvis Presley teen pop type of, the Beatles and all that. But when you go back and speak to your grandparents, many teenagers were already doing adults type of work and behavior, 14, 15, 16, 17. When you go into ancient time, by the time you're 17, 15, you're already married with a wife. By the time you're 20, you got like 3 kids already. Right? People grew up much earlier back in the days. Right? There was no such thing as a minor versus, adults, 18 and old. Let me see your ID. Oh, you're a minor, you're 17. Right? 18, oh, you're in the military, but you can't drink. These are laws that we have to understand that we have to follow because we are behind enemy lines. All of this could have been avoided, man. All of this could have been a scenario that they could have said, we have to come up with a wiser way to discipline our kids. I don't know what the kid was doing. I don't know what's the inappropriate, thing he was doing with other kids. I don't know what that is. And I could relate because I'm a father too. I just hope the brother and the sister wise up, apologize to the courts, be reasonable, don't get caught up with this all sovereign thing and you don't have no rights, and because that's how we get addicted in a small community, it's probably going to be a white judge, a white prosecutor, a white, this big black guy talking about, you got no rights. Everybody's all nervous. That's not the way to go, Papa. That's not the way to go. And too much of our people get caught up in the legal system because our pride, our ego. How dare you charge me with this? I did nothing wrong. And it becomes dangerous. It is dangerous. And I hope this was, this was a conversation we could have because, it's Peter made it clear in the scriptures. Let me see if I could, bring out some scriptures real quick. He made it clear that we have to submit to the powers that be, right? We have to submit to the powers that be. We have to understand that we are behind enemy lines, right? We cannot just simply say certain things because it raises concerns. Even having a conversation, in certain, environments I will not have, and so forth, so on, right? Adumians, Edomites, we know who we're talking about here. They're going to be doing this in the kingdom and yada, 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 and right? I'm going to have these wives. I'm going to have these servants. It could become, it is dangerous, and it could become dangerous. And we need to do better, man. We have to do better as a people. We have to swallow our ego and understand that we are behind enemy lines. We're not in our rest. We're not home. We're not in our own run government. We're in a foreign land. We are refugees, right? We're refugees. So let's go into the scriptures real quick, right? What the Most High said. What the Apostle Paul says. What's the title? Honor authority, right? Submit yourself to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. See? Well, you could be, so you got to honor whatever. If you go to Russia, right? You got to honor their system. You got to find out, okay, what's the do's and don'ts? If you go to Africa, what's the do's and don'ts? If you go to Thailand, what's the do's and don'ts? If you go to South America, what's the do's and don'ts? Look at what happened to that basketball player that went to Russia and she wanted to take some hemp with her, and that's illegal. And the president had to negotiate for her to, she got something, 9 years? She was not a famous person. She probably still would have been in jail for 9 years over some hemp, marijuana. Come on. right? Submit yourself to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme, or unto governors as unto them that are sent by him from the punishment of evildoers, and for the praise of them that do well. For so is the will of God. The Most High wants you to be at peace. Learn how to play the game. This is a game. Learn how to play it. Learn the rules. Learn the loopholes. Learn the system. Don't, this whole thing, we have to get out of my people and yada, 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 right? Because, the video that this started with Pastor Dow, that's the major thing. Get out of my people. And I believe on that. But the first thing you have to get out of my people is mentally. You got to get out of this system mentally. But you're still in the system. Even Christ says, I pray that you don't take them out of the world, but protect them from the world, right? So the scripture says, for as is the will of God, that which will doing ye will put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. So if you do, you got your license, it's insured, everything is good, yada, 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 everything is up to date, right? The police stop you, don't give them an excuse. What the hell you want, pig? Huh? Edomite, right? What do you want? You're oppressor. You don't mind. I know my rights. Or automatically comes with a hostile scenario. And yes, there are certain cops that do break the law and corrupt and all that and things of that nature. In the middle of the road is not the place for you to have a trial. You keep calm, you record everything, make sure you have a recorder in your car, you call your lawyer, and you fight for your rights legally, right? 2:16, as free and not using your liberty for a cloak for maliciousness, but as the servant of the Most High. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. So you have to understand that we have to conduct ourselves that we are blameless, those that are within and those that are without, as the scripture says, meaning within the church and outside the church, within the body of Christ, outside the body of Christ. So if they speak ignorance of you, if they speak bad of you, let them be speaking bad of you because of a Christian, not because you're a fool running around punching your kid in the face and leaving him a black eye and sending him to his grandmother, and then she's like, what the heck is this? The brother should have known better. He should have done better. He should have known that this is going to be a problem. And instead of saying, yeah, listen, I got a little caught away, I apologize, yada, 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 he got indignant. This is my son, and yeah, I'll beat him like a man, and I'll do it again. Those days are over, Papa. Those days are over, and I can relate. I'm a father. What works for me is what I told my wife and kids. If I'm going to protect you, I have to have some level of authority over you. If I got to die for you, as the scripture says, there has to be some level of authority, right? Because if my wife going to we're walking, and I said, baby, I don't think we should go this alley because it's dangerous. But babe, where can I go? I like this alley, right? And she goes, and then I get into a fight with some dudes, right? She's not the one fighting. I am. I'm the one protecting her. That's my job. So if you have to, what's is an old saying? Do not take a responsibility if you don't have no authority over that responsibility. If you have no authority and they're giving you the responsibility, you're supposed to provide, you're supposed to respect, but you provide, protect, and so forth, so on. But you have no authority over the people that you're supposed to protect and provide for, walk away. The deal is, I'll die for you. I'll take the bullet. If the boat is sinking, you could take the raft, and I'll stay in the boat if we can only fit you and our child, right? I'll die for my family, but I need some level of authority over my home. And that's been working well for me. That's, and the minute I don't have the authority, I just walk away. I don't have to hit anyone in the black, any black eye. I'm not punching walls in my thing that I eventually gonna fix later. I don't get caught up with that. And that's been working for me. Now, it may not work for others. You may lose your wife. You may, you have to take that chance. There's been scenarios that I had to let some people go because they didn't give me authority over them. They were this free, independent, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to go into a different tirade, but what people need to understand that when you're dealing with children and the discipline, we have to get more creative. That kid could have probably, learned a better lesson if you were given some exercise drill, some, clean the house, do some chore, paint this and drag that, take the garbage out, blah, 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 and so forth, so on. Let me get your video game. You can't go outside, you grounded. Not beat them up and then send them to the grandma. That's not wisdom, brother. That's not wisdom. And I hope Pastor Dow and the Straight Way organization will learn from this and do better. Because it's always, the naysayers always going to be using these type of things to do what? They said, doesn't that Pastor Dow one of those Israelite groups? Sabbath keeping groups? See, I'm telling you, they're weird, man. They're crazy. Don't mess around with them. I told you. And it's always the same story. It's always the same scenario. So I hope you guys understood what I was trying to say. I hope you was able to get some wisdom of this conversation. I'll be back hopefully this Saturday with another Sabbath lesson or Sabbath conversation. Stay strong. Stay alert. And let's go God's way. Peace and blessings.